March 22nd, a bite-sized Bible in a year, chronological edition. We read Deuteronomy 33 and 34 and Joshua 1 and 2. So we're still with Moses. This is the very last part of his life, the last blessing that he gives. And the last part of this is a blessing for the tribes of Israel. And what we see is blessing after blessing after blessing after blessing that God is giving the Israelites. And this right here is God's heart for his people. This is his heart for us. So when we feel targeted by God, or we feel like God has forgotten us, or we feel like we're being disciplined all the time, or whatever, when we start to have these negative thoughts about God, we need to come back to stuff like this, where we see God's heart towards us. It's always to bless us. He loves us so much. This is his heart. The discipline comes to get us back in relationship with him. The dark times do come, but he wants to bless us in those times. This is his heart for his people, for us. One of the sections that is one of the biggest sections of the blessing is where it talks about the Levites. And you know, it's one of the few sections where he actually talks about what the Levites have already done. And he uses words like teach and give and present and offer and ministry. And so it's just really, really cool to see him encourage them in that. And to basically, he's saying what you do matters. And so this is his heart for us. He gives and he teaches and he presents to us, and then he wants us to turn around and do the same thing for other people. Give to them. So like we've talked about before, we can pray for that kind of heart. Like, God, please make me a giving person. Please make me a person who is characterized as being somebody who likes to offer things and help people. Then we get to a possible memory verse. Yes, Finn, I see you. Oh my God, hi. You want to say hello? Needy. Then we get to a possible memory verse. You might want to memorize it. It's a good one. 33:26, Deuteronomy 33:26. There is no one like the God of Israel. He rides across the heavens to help you, across the skies in majestic splendor. He goes out of his way to help us. Okay, so he's not out to get us. He's out to love us. He's out to help us. Great one to remember, to memorize, so that we wallpaper our mind with those kinds of truth. Then we see the death of Moses, which is super sad because we've spent so much time with him and he was so faithful to the Lord. We see him die in exactly the place, the time, the way that God said he would. And so again, I put the PF in the margin for promise fulfilled, because we always want to remember or mark down where we see God do something that he said he was going to do, because again, that helps us to see that he is actually faithful. He is trustworthy. He's going to keep his word towards us. Then that's the end of Deuteronomy, and we move into Joshua. And now we get to see Joshua take over for Moses. And in verse 2, God, sometimes he's so blunt. Moses, my servant, is dead. He's talking to Joshua. Therefore, the time has come for you to lead these people, the Israelites, across the Jordan into the land I am giving to them. And then down in verse 6, he says, be strong and courageous, for you are the one who will lead these people. And so God is saying, okay, Moses' time is done. Chapter closed, moving on. You need to get up and move on. So my question to us today is, what are we stuck on? What are we continuing to look back at when God is saying, that's done, let it go, move on. I'm trying to take you to this new thing. I'm trying to move you ahead, and all you do is keep moving and looking back. Or maybe you're comparing yourself to somebody else and saying, well, I can't do it that way. Well, good, because you're not supposed to. God didn't create you to do it the way that that person's doing it. And so what is it we need to let go of? Who do we need to stop comparing ourselves to? What do we need to go, God, you've got that. I'm letting it go and I'm moving on. What do we need to just let be in the past so we can move forward? Ask God, and then work with him until you can let it go and move on, because God's got awesome things. Like here, he's telling the Israelites, get ready, get ready. And so maybe that's what God is saying to you today. I don't know. I want to take you somewhere new. Get ready. And part of you getting ready is letting go of that thing. What is that thing you need to let go of? And then we see the story of Rahab approaching the two spies that had come in to look at Jericho for Joshua. And you know what we learned from Rahab is, number one, she didn't count herself out. She didn't think, well, I'm just, you know, they're coming in to die and I'm not an Israelite, so like, she didn't count herself out. She had great faith. That's the second thing. She had great faith. She was a spiritual leader of her family. She ends up saving her whole family because she had great faith in God. And so, you know, if we're walking with God, we don't ever want to count ourselves out, ever. We want to lead the people around us. And she was bold. And so if any of those three things like kind of hits you, like, ooh, I want to talk to God about that. Talk to him about that. Being bold, being the spiritual leader of your family, not counting yourself out for what God has. So that's my encouragement to you today. I hope that's helpful. All right, so we are moving on to March 23rd, which is Joshua 3 through 6. And the 24th is Joshua 7 through 9. And I will talk to you on Monday about those things. Have a wonderful weekend. Goodbye.